Hello YouTube and welcome to another moto vlog coming at you this time from lovely Clifton, Virginia. We're gonna crack a beer. Oh yeah. You know I like to do these things voiceover. I'm not cracking a beer while I'm on my motorcycle. Stone sober for this ride, but a little drunk for this video. So let's get to it. What am I getting to, huh? I don't know. I had some topics for this and I don't think I'm gonna bring them up yet. I think I'm gonna talk a little bit about what's going on. So we're coming up to the town of Clifton, Virginia. Old Town Clifton, Virginia. You can just see hundreds of bikes. Look at this. This is crazy. This is Bikes and Breakfast in Clifton, Virginia. And it's swarmed. I mean, it's hot as hell. And people are out enjoying the warm weather and just having a good time. And it's great to see it. Fortunately for me, I can't really find a spot that I would like to park at. So let's see what I do here. I ride through slowly, taking a look around. I know I've got the camera on, so I'm kind of taking a look at some of these bikes that I think are interesting, keeping an eye out for people in traffic. Just puttering around, really. Like I said, I'm looking around. Don't know what to do. So let's introduce the topic of this video. The one thing I've been wanting to make a video on, I was thinking about doing a couch vlog, but I just couldn't find enough information on it. And that is the topic of potential. And it's kind of a strange topic, right? What is potential? How do we use potential when we ride? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How do we relate to it? And I've been struggling. I've really been struggling hard to come up with a way to explain it and a way to make a video out of it. So I'm just gonna stammer through this shit and we'll watch me ride. At this point, if you don't want to hear me ramble on about a bunch of crap, feel free to mute this and maybe just take a look at just the beautiful sights of this lovely town. And and if you do want to listen, just know I'm gonna talk about potential a bit here and there. I'm also going to comment about the video when I see things that are interesting to comment on. Like here we go. I'm going the other way, going back to the town. Nothing interesting really. So potential. I think there's two kinds of potential when it comes to riding. There's the potential of your motorcycle, and there is the potential of you as a rider. So you have to think to yourself, how am I gonna ride, right? Am I gonna ride to the potential of the bike? Or am I gonna ride to the potential of me as a rider? Am I gonna ride to what's higher, what's lower? Am I gonna ride to neither? Am I just gonna go and ride with no care in the world? So, for me personally, I like to ride to whatever's lower. So I like to kind of make a judge, like, am I a better rider than the bike, or is the bike better than me as a rider? Whatever one has more potential. And now usually the answer is the bike has more potential than I do. Usually there's going to be certain cases where I have more potential than the bike. Let's say the bike has like off-road tires and I'm riding through twisty roads in the rain. Yeah, my potential as a rider is actually better than the potential of the bike because the bike just has no grip. So in that special case, you know, I'm going to be riding to my potential as a rider. I'm sorry, I'm going to be riding to the bike's potential. Excuse me, I'm going to be riding to the bike's potential because that's what's lower. But in most cases, the bike has way more grip than I know what to do with, and I'm going to be riding to my potential as a rider. Now, the thing I have to understand is when I say riding to my or the bike's potential, whatever's lower, I'm not talking about going and riding at 100%. So at no point am I going anywhere near the lower potential threshold. So let's just assume that my potential is always lower than the bike's. So at no point am I going anywhere near my potential threshold as a rider. On the street, I try to keep it very low. So, depending on my mood and depending on the conditions and depending on where I'm riding, depending on if I'm alone or with other riders, that all influences how much potential I'm willing to kind of use, how much risk I'm willing to take as a rider. Oh God, look at that. I was going for that space, but then the Triumph, I was like, you know what? He's got it. He's got it. He's good. He's good. So anyways, here's another interesting thing. So watch how I take this spot. I notice a lot of people like to back their bikes in by kind of paddle walking. Watch how I do this. Just to change the topic here. We'll get back to potential in a bit. So watch how I do this. I actually park the bike up in this case because it's uphill and this is a tall bike. I'm not going to try to walk it back. That's just a fool's errand. I get off the bike. I grip the handlebar, pull the clutch in. I keep the bike in first gear as a safety measure. And then I grip, you know, the bike far back. So I'm gripping far forward and far back so I got leverage and I'm pushing the bike back. So now we've left bikes and breakfast and we're heading out. And I got a couple people that are my friends in front of me. I'm going to do a little slingshotting here. You can watch that. And you'll see that this is actually a good transition back to my main topic because I'm riding basically as fast, at this point I'm riding about as fast as I would like to. I'm using as much grip of the bike, sure, but I'm using as much of my vision potential as I would like to use, which means I am riding as quickly as I would like to based on the amount of vision that I have. So I can't see further forward. You see through those turns, they're fairly blind, right? And if I were to ride faster, yeah, I know the bike's got a ton of grip for that, and I know my potential to handle those turns is really high. But at the same time, what about my vision? I can't see through those turns because they're obscured by trees and stuff. So if I were to go really fast and someone was to pull out on me, how could that not be my fault? So that's another thing you have to consider. That's a part of potential. You know, you have grip, you have how much lean angle you're willing to accept, you have how far you can see through the corner, how much risk you're willing to take in terms of all those things. So I was riding there when I was going fast and catching up to them. I was riding at maybe 40 to 45% of my potential, which is about as much as I'd like to do in a normal street riding scenario. So now we're heading off-road. This is not off-road. Now we're heading into some gravel, which is always fun. Always a good time. I let these guys get a little bit ahead of me. I don't like riding close. I want to give a tip to the guy in the middle here. I'm not going to name names. I want to give a tip to him when he's doing these gravel things. You're too close. You're following too close to the guy in front of you. And it's not a huge deal on a road like this. But there's two main disadvantages to that. The first one is the dust and the debris. Like you're literally in the path of dust and debris of the rider in front of you. So they are just kicking shit up into your vision. And you know, it's not that bad. It's not like it's gonna kill you, but at the same time it's annoying. It's gonna put chips in your paint and it's gonna put dust in your helmet, and it just is annoying. The second and more serious reason is stopping. If someone were to pull out, or if there was a deer or something and the rider in front had to stop quickly, you don't have a huge margin of stopping when you are riding in gravel. So you want to keep at least like a 4 or 5 second gap between you and the rider in front. So let's cut that tree. There we go. You passed the tree. 1, 2. He's like, let's be generous. He's like 2 to 3 seconds behind, and he wants to be about double that distance. You can see the distance I'm following might be a little further than you need to follow, but I'm keeping this big gap because, like I said, I want to stay out of the debris. I want to stay out of the dust, and just in case anything bad were to happen, I've got all the time in the world to react to it and stop safely. So that's all the unpaved action we're going to get for this video. So now this is just like a crappy road. So we're in beautiful Clifton, and you know, we hear certain riders talk about the filthy streets. This is a filthy street right here. Like, holy crap. You can see me standing, and I stand on a road like this for 2 reasons. One is vision. We've got all these blind turns and stuff, and standing up lets you see further through the turn. The other reason is just the extreme amount of potholes and bumps. Having your legs as, you know, your bent legs as suspension really makes everything a lot smoother. So, I think I've talked a lot about this potential thing. I keep bringing it up, I keep talking about it because it is the topic of the video. So I think you have to ask yourself as a rider, if you're still listening to me, you need to ask yourself as a rider, you know, how much potential am I willing to use on the street? So if, say I could lean the bike, if I were to go through a turn and it was a racetrack and I could see through it and I knew that if I were to crash everything would be fine and yada yada yada, how fast would I go through this turn? Would my minimum speed be like 70 miles an hour? Then how fast should I go when I'm on the street? And my answer should be like half that speed or less. 35 miles an hour. So if you can do that turn at 70 miles an hour, if you can do that turn at 70 miles an hour, then you should do that turn at 35 miles an hour. Now look at this guy on the left here. He's wearing a t-shirt. When you're wearing a t-shirt, you should lower your potential even more. Maybe you should go down to like 25 miles an hour just to be safe. So here we go. What's this? Whoops.
Oh.
I still don't know what happened. I think personally he put his foot down and it wasn't quite planted and he's on gravel and it slipped just a little bit and he just went, you know what? It's my leg or it's the road. Or I'm sorry, it's my leg or it's the bike. And he went, you know what? It's the bike. I'll let the bike fall before I potentially injure myself trying to keep it up. And I will tell you this right now. I applaud that decision. If there is any doubt in your mind that you're gonna hurt yourself keeping the bike that you have upright, let the bike go. Step off the bike, let the bike go, and don't hurt yourself. It's a freaking machine. It can take it. Yeah, maybe you might break a thing or two, maybe you might scratch some paint, but like, what's more important, your leg or some paint? Like, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. So, we're going back, we're doing some more riding. I think I've kind of discussed everything I wanted to discuss here, so I think what I want you guys to do is kind of look at my lines here. Notice how I don't use the whole road. So when it comes to potential, there's many things to consider, right? There's corner speed, there's brake pressure, there's level of acceleration, but there's also how much of the road you use. Are you going to use 100% of the road? Now the road potential is a bit different than everything else. So I'm going to say I use maybe 80 to 90% of the road, depending on my vision, right? And depending on, you know, what the road looks like. See, you can see, like, bad things in the road. Now, one thing that kind of stinks is the way my camera's angled when I make left turns. It looks like I'm looking down even though I'm not. I'm, like, looking through the turn left, but it looks like I'm looking down, so that kind of stinks. Like, watch me coming up here. This is a very tight left-hand turn. I love this turn. So you can see I turn my head. I should turn it now. Yep, which is what I do. But it looks like I'm barely turning it, and it looks like I'm looking down, but that's really just the camera angle because I have it, you know, placed on the right side of my helmet. I should place it in the middle, but I'll tell you this. Everyone who places their camera in the middle cares more about video footage than personal comfort. That's just the way it is. Because when you place your camera in the middle of your helmet, like you see a lot of vloggers do, they get that dank footage, you know, so to speak, you're killing the ability for air to get up into your helmet. Because almost all helmets have air vents right there in the middle where you're placing your camera. And I'm sorry, but I am not willing to sacrifice that airflow to get better footage. I'm just not. So you can deal with the compromised footage. If you don't like it, you can turn it off, or you can not watch me. And of course, not a lot of people watch me. I've got 46 freaking subscribers. So who am I trying to impress here? Check this out. You see a couple of guys here on the left? Look at this. They're like wearing t-shirts and stuff with next to their motorcycles. I gotta say right now, I think one of them crashed. I think one of them had a little bit of a low slide. God. Thank you, DDFM, for saying low slide so much that I just said it inadvertently. A low side accident. I think one of them had a little minor low side, and their bike and them stayed on the road, and they picked it up and walked off, and they're just trying to think about what to do. Is the bike rideable? Am I getting my wits about me? This, that, and the other. It happens. That turn's notorious. That little S-turn there, it's very hilly. This turn here, right here, is also very notorious as well. So now we're moving forward. The traffic is kind of cleared out. Now we're on the Hampton Road, very notorious road. And you'll see me make a little bit of a pucker factor. I wouldn't say I got scared or puckered, actually, but I kind of did. I would say I checked up. Getting scared isn't going to help you on a motorcycle, but what will help you is checking up when you do. So I'm coming around this corner. I just take that line terrible. I'm just not going fast enough, and I end up turning too much, and I end up giving it some throttle to get back out, and then I have to get back in. But anyways, watch this. Look how much I check up there, and then I flick the bike to the left. Now, usually I don't like riding like that, but I thought there was gravel in the middle of the road. So I looked down to make sure what was going on, to make sure I wasn't going to run over the gravel while I leaned over. And I realized there was no gravel there, so I just flicked the bike to the apex so I can get a decent drive out of the corner. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So this is where I say goodbye to my friend. That's all it is. Bye, buddy. Have a good time. He went and rode some other bikes. I love his XR, man. The only downside to that bike as an adventure bike is that when you do drop it, which is going to happen because it's an extremely tall and top-heavy bike compared to a GS, it's just not built to take a crash like a GS is. The plastics just aren't as robust. They're not placed as well. And the chassis and the cages and this, that, and the other, it's compromised. It's a sporty bike. And that sportiness compromises the structural integrity of the bike. And it just doesn't crash as well. So if you ever were to buy an XR, keep that in mind, that for off-road riding and riding where crashes are more likely, and, stopping on gravel. I've seen him drop his bike a couple of times on gravel now. It's so tall, and he's not exactly a tall person. So it's very difficult. It's a very difficult bike to ride, but I will say this. I commend him immensely for riding this motorcycle because it is going to improve his skills. When he gets on a bike that's not as tall and not as top heavy, oh man, he's never going to drop it. There's never going to be a problem because he's so used to this giant, massive bike that is unwieldy and easy to drop. He's just never going to have a problem with like a naked bike or like a cruiser or something. It's just never going to happen. Watch this. Look at this. This is an interesting little clip. I'm waiting for this guy to go. I'm like, yeah, they got that. And he freaking stops. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. You don't see it there, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye. He actually flashed me, which is why I ended up going. I was like, what the hell? I'll just go. So this, to me, is like a perfect turn. Not perfect, but like this. I start on the outside. I look, hit my apex, and just go. Like, out and out. Hit that apex, turn my head, do everything right. That's the way you want to take a turn. You know what I mean? And now I see this guy now. I smell some blood in the water because I see a rider ahead of me. He's probably coming from Bikes and Breakfast, and I just see him and I'm like, I gotta catch this guy. So right there, going through that turn, I'm using about all the potential I want to use, which is not a lot. Like I said, I'm not going fast. I'm going deliberately slow because I don't want to risk having a crash. So, and I've said this in other videos, how much risk are you willing to take? There's so many factors, like how much gear are you wearing? How good's your insurance? Is this your bike or someone else's bike? How well do you know the road? How close is emergency medical services going to be to you? You know, so many factors. And depending on all those factors, you have to determine how much of your potential or your bike's potential you're willing to utilize to go through a corner. It's just a complicated subject, and I wish I could give you a definitive answer. But I hope what I've done so far with this video, this, 20 minutes now of video, is made you think about, how fast do I ride? And what determines in my mind how fast do I ride? These aren't answers I can give you, but maybe by giving you my, logic behind how fast I like to ride, you can think to yourself, how am I going to come up with a plan, like a riding plan? How fast am I going to ride? I want a plan based on what road I'm on, how well I know the road, what the conditions are. This just so many things, right? All these things. I want to come up with a plan that's going to determine how fast I'm going to go through a corner. I don't just want to wing it. I want to have a plan. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to do, is have a plan. Because when you ride deliberately, you're riding more safely, and I'm going to be honest, you're going to have more fun. When you ride deliberately, you're just going to have more fun because you're making the bike do what you want. The bike isn't taking you for a ride, you're taking the bike for a ride, and that's where the fun comes in. So that's what I want you guys to do. We're coming to almost to the end of this. You can see me slingshotting on this guy like crazy. You can see me slingshotting on this guy like crazy. This is my last clip here. Again, you can see me slingshotting, and we're coming to the end of Clifton. I'm going to make a right here, and I'm going to cruise up 28 back to Sterling. I could have taken a longer way, but man, it was hot. Man, it was hot, so forget about it. I'm just going to cruise up to Sterling. Had a nice little cruise, going maybe 75, 80, and a 55. Again, how much risk are you willing to take? That's it. Think about your riding, guys.